Welcome, fellas. I'm going to start with you, Andy, as the champion. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you to explain one or two of the things that you've said in the last 7 or so weeks, and because I'm keen to find out the reasoning for them. The main one is the suggestion that you've said, or what you've said, that you'd stop or knock out Billy Joe in 5 rounds.
What I said, what I meant was after 5 rounds.
Ah, okay.
Somewhere down the line. And I wouldn't think people, I don't think Billy would disagree. I've been known to start slow, and he's been known to finish slow a little bit. And somewhere in the middle we're going to meet.
Yeah. After 5 rounds?
After 5 rounds, which is nearly the halfway mark.
What did you think when you heard that, or when you read that?
Well, listen, I know that obviously Andy, like yourself, I think that he has known to been starting slow, and he has been behind on a few scorecards, and he has pulled it out. So, I think he's working towards his game plan, and if that's what he thinks and that's what he set out to train to do, I'm sure Adam's setting a game plan out for you, same as Jimmy is with me. We've got to try to execute it, and I suppose that's what he's planning on me fading.
And you've actually also said if you take Andy's right hook away, he would have lost his last 3 fights.
Yeah, well, the Julian Jackson fight, I thought you was getting beat. Well, with the knockdown, but then, listen, that's why you got that belt there. He went over there and I thought he was just down on the scorecards. Not a lot in it against the Russian. Pulled it out the bag. Proved me wrong again. He beat Julian Jackson. He was getting beat. Pulled out the bag. And, he caught Cullen, put him down and pulled out the bag. And I think every single time it was the right hook. So I've got to watch that right. I'm going to try to take that right hook.
I've only got one punch.
Yeah, listen, Andy, listen. I'm not sitting around this table and going on, listen, you're a world champion. You've been to Olympic Games, you're a good fighter. I've got respect for you, but hopefully I want to be taking this title.
In fact, it was Adam Booth that responded once Billy had said that about you having a right hook, and Andy said, well, actually, so what Adam said was he's a boxer first and a puncher second, which of course you seem to have been until the last 3 fights when the punchers come to the front.
Yeah, I don't think I know I'm a puncher, but I always first and foremost class myself as a boxer. That's what I always was as an amateur. And look, needs must. And when you find yourself in a situation in a fight, you do everything you can to win. And that's the punch that's ended the last few fights and got me back in the fight with Quillen. And again, if I have to draw upon it, I'll have to draw upon it. There's it's in my armory to do that. You know what I mean? As big as my punch is, my will is just as big. And in those fights, being behind, to come back when everything was against me, that shows my character. And if I have to do it again, which I might have to do against Billy, I'll have to do it.
Are you expecting 12 rounds, Bill? I mean, you seem to love 12 rounds, over the last 2 or 3 years.
To be honest with you, Steve, every fight that I go in thinking, I go to bed thinking all the time the worst case scenario. You got to go to bed. You got to expect everything in that ring. And I've been in some fights where I'm thinking this is going to be an hard fight, and all of a sudden I pulled something out the bag I don't know I've got. But this is something different. This is for something that, since I've been 5-year-old, I've been in the gym for. All right, the Olympic Games, the pinnacle Olympic Games I went to, didn't medal, but I got there. That was enough for me at the Olympics. But now, this has all been building up to this. And every fight I've been into thinking this is going to be one tough fight here. This is a 50-50 fight. I've always pulled something out the bag, like Tony Hill, the Australian. I've always pulled something out the bag. Every fight I've been in, knowing that I can go in and just do enough. I can go in there, and I know, even the Eubank fight, I go in there, just do enough and take the win. I know I'm a class above them, but when you're fighting a world champion, you're in there and you know this is a 50-50 fight. So I know I've got to go in there and pull something out the bag and do something I haven't done before to take that belt. That's what I wanted to do.
And is there more pressure on Billy than there is on you? Because you've said since you won the title, it's a great relief. It's almost like, is it fair to say there's a monkey off your back? The expectation's over, you're the champion now, and the pressure's on Billy.
No, we both have equal pressure, but different pressure. Yeah, it's a relief becoming world champion, but now the pressure on me is to retain it and not just be a flash in the pan champion, to be a great champion. That's what I've always wanted to be. I know how much this fight means to Billy. I know, like, he knows how much it means to me. How much we fight and work to get that belt every day. And I know what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. That a fighter's most dangerous when he's back to the wall. Fights I've watched, all your fights with Bradley Price and that, and I could see you just done enough. You just trained enough to beat those guys, and you beat them well, but you just beat them. Yeah. But I know you're going to bring the best, and that's why I'm doing everything I can. Like, if I was to compare Billy Joe to the last 3 opponents I've had in terms of being punchers and worried about being knocked out, I would say Billy Joe's not a big puncher as them. But if I made the mistake in believing that, that's when he would catch me, and I'd have to respect his power. He could easily knock me out if I go in there thinking that, you know, he's not the same puncher as the guys I fought in my last fight. So there's a lot on the line. This championship means the world to me. To be able to call myself a champion, wake up every day and feel and know that I'm world champion, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And there's nothing. I don't think there's anything in the world I can take that will stop me from, you know, carrying that on, or anyone who can take that away from me.
Andy talked there about having respect for your power, Billy, but you've actually said you feel you've been in with guys that punch harder than Andy already, that you've fought men that punch harder than him.
No, I think that, you know, as Andy say, if you look at Andy's record, that it's only really since he's won this world title that he started, you know, really putting the big names away. No disrespect, but, you know, the world class and the ratings fighters. And, you know, you look at some of the names I've been in with, a couple of them, you know, coming through as just starting out. You know, I know he's light middleweight, you got your Manchester kid, then they all kept on about Eubanks' power. You know, I'm single-handedly, Andy's probably is going to be one of the hardest punches I've been in, one punch I've been in the ring with. But what you got to look at is this fight it's not all going to be about power. What you got to look at is that he's been to Olympic Games. You don't just get to Olympic Games by power. I know amateur and pro we're referring, but you got to be at the best of your game to get there. And this is going to be a lot of boxing in this as well. And I believe in my own heart and my own mind that I'm a better boxer than Andy. And, you know, there's going to be times in this fight, and I've said it once and I'll say it again, is that which might suit Andy, that we are going to be going at it. Definitely, 100%.
Is Billy busier than you, Andy? In a fight where the punches, the power finish doesn't count, is he a busier fighter than you?
Certainly, he fights at a fast pace. I've seen that, and the thing that impressed me about him is that he comes out and gets to work straight away. Doesn't take any time to look at the guy. Comes straight out and sets about his business. That's something I'm going to have to combat. I know. Something I have to work on. And he throws punches in combinations where I'm more of a single punch, you know, 1 or 2. What it does make for is a clash of styles. Even though we're both southpaws, we're very different in our approach.
Different southpaws, very different southpaws. Yeah, I agree. Anything could happen in this fight. Anything could happen. It could be an all-out war. It could be a chess match. But whatever you're going to see top-class boxing, one way or the other. At some point, Billy, you're convinced that one of you or both of you will have to take a risk. So assuming it's a chess match, at some point, one of you is going to go first. Is it critical to be the person that first puts his foot on that pedal?
Well, you know, I think it's one of them things that who gets the best start. You know, if I go in there and you know, when people say, oh, you don't talk about your game plan, this and that, but any knowledgeable fighter knows if he goes up and he's 6 or 7 rounds up, he's going to play it safe, you know, clever and safe. But if I go there and I find myself 4 or 5 rounds down, set back in the corner, I'm down, then obviously we've got to take chances, you know. So I think the one who don't get the best start has to take the most chances.
Well, I would argue, and I don't know what you think, Andy, I would argue that Billy took a risk by taking his foot off the pedal in the second half of the Eubank fight. Is that something that gives you, a little bit of inspiration?
Not necessarily. I don't take any confidence from it. It was a hard fight. I know, listen, people underestimated Eubank. No, I think he fought a very good fight in there. I know how good he is. I've seen him in the gym. I know how good he is. And I think you might have underestimated him yourself.
Yeah.
He proved himself that night. And it was a very good win. So like I think he'd be a hard fight for anybody. And Billy Joe beat him easy. Really, not on the scorecards, beat him easy.
Yeah, you just made it difficult in the last 4 or 5 rounds. By
Steve,
your own admission.
Definitely. I mean, with the Eubank fight, I've said it a couple of times, is that when you're training for someone, like now I'm training hard, I know that Andy's coming to fight, but when you're training for someone, you're away from your little boys and that, and you're away for 6 to 7 weeks, and you're training, you're thinking in the back of your head, this ain't happening, you know. But and when you're in the backstage waiting to walk out, and you think your head's on it like you're sitting home on the sofa, you're thinking liven yourself up here because this is on. And I went out there and it was so easy from 1 to 5. I just like really just switched off. But that's because I knew I had him beat. That's because I knew that his boxing ability or his power wouldn't bother me. I just knew that I had him beat. But with this, you know, listen, this in front of me, that changed everything. I know I'll be switched on from 1 to the last. Whether that means if I got to work 3 minutes of every single round, that's what I do to get that.